Hello friends, Tom Downey here for NFL Daily. Little bit different show today. We're going to take a look at the most likely first round busts from the 2019 NFL Draft. And I know you're going to get mad. I know you are. So if you want to complain, send it to my burner account at MitchellRens365. So we'll start things off here with, of course, the number one most likely bust, even though we're going to go in order of draft pick, Daniel Jones. Look, Dave Gettleman can say whatever he wants and pretend that the Broncos and Redskins were going to take Daniel Jones. They probably weren't. And if we're talking about most likely first-round busts, I don't think Daniel Jones is going to live up to a top 10 selection. In general, and there are always exceptions, if you weren't that good in college, you're generally not suddenly going to get a lot better in the NFL. And I know Duke's offense was pretty bad, and his receivers couldn't catch passes, but it's kind of weird to me, the arguments that the Giants and the media are making in favor of Daniel Jones. Oh, his receivers are bad. So were other players. This is not unique to the Giants. Now, I do think Daniel Jones can carve out a nice career as a low-end starter, as a stopgap, a worse version of Alex Smith maybe a little bit. But let's not forget how long it took Alex Smith to get to be where he was before that injury. Now, he's going to learn behind Eli Manning, but let's also not kid ourselves here. Daniel Jones went number 6 because he's big and tall and played under David Cutcliffe. If Daniel Jones was 6'2 and played at Wake, he would have been a mid-round pick. I think that is an undeniable fact of this year's draft class. So for the Giants, maybe Daniel Jones does fit really well. I think the offense is a decent fit for what he does well. Short, quick passes. You didn't need to spend a top 7, top 10 pick on Daniel Jones on that one. Now the reality is of the NFL, at least one of these quarterbacks is going to be a bust. Those are what the odds are. Heck, multiple of these first-round picks are going to be busts. So which first-round quarterback is most likely to bust from this year's class? Type H for Haskins, J for Jones, and M for Murray. Let me know in the comment section. And yes, we're going to criticize some of these draft picks here. So if you don't like that, I am sorry. Welcome to the real world where NFL draft prospects, there's a pretty high bust rate. Next up, Rashan Gary. I'm a little confused / surprised by what Green Bay's doing. They're going to try and play him at outside linebacker, which I don't think that's a good use of his skill set. If he had gone somewhere where he was going to be kind of more of a 4-3 defensive end who kicks inside on passing downs, I think that makes a lot of sense. And yes, Rashan Gary's a freak athlete. It didn't always show up on film. He was nowhere near as productive as he should have been at Michigan given his freak athleticism. So Gary in the end is very much a boom or bust prospect. If he hits, he's going to be fantastic. But we're talking about most likely. The reality is you have to acknowledge there is definitely bust potential with Rashan Gary. Now make no mistake, it's not like I'm cheering against any of these players. But for Gary, the risk is pretty damn high, and I don't know how he's going to fit as a 3-4 outside linebacker in Green Bay. I'm really curious to see how that pans out. Hope it pans out well for him, but there's definitely some major risk involved here when the athlete is sky high and the production just wasn't there at Michigan. By the way, don't start with the whole, he was double and triple teamed every play at Michigan. No, he wasn't. Come on, guys. Let's be reasonable here. Now, today's show brought to you guys by BetDSI. Head over to chatsports.com/bet. Use that promo code LIVE120. If you think I'm wrong and you think I'm being done with all of these players, well, go prove it to me by making a lot of money on BetDSI. Chatsports.com/bet. Don't forget that promo code LIVE120. Next up, offensive lineman Titus Howard. Very similar in a way to Rashan Gary in that he is a boom or bust prospect. You're hoping for like a Taron Armstead, a small school guy, but maybe you end up with a more recent first-round pick who was a bust that we called Germain Ifedi. Howard has limited playing experience, just 24 career starts at Alabama State. The upside's certainly there, but Titus Howard needed to go somewhere where he could sit a year and learn. He might not get that opportunity in Houston because Julian Davenport, who also kind of fits the Titus Howard mold, hasn't been good enough. Central Henderson hasn't been good enough. Don't start Matt Khalil, and even if you do, he's going to get hurt like 4 games into the season. So there's really no point on that part. I thought Howard was a reach for the Texans. I would have loved Andre Dillard there. He is raw, and he needs time, I think. I don't know if he's going to get that opportunity. Now, Howard, I thought, was one of the reaches in round 1, but it was the biggest reach of the first round. There's always some surprise picks there. Let me know in the comment section. Based on my board, It was the first guy we mentioned. It was Daniel Jones. I had a 4th round grade on him. He went number 6 overall, and the Redskins Broncos weren't going to take him either. My next bust, one that I really didn't like putting on here, but I wanted to make a note that injuries do happen, and injuries are a factor. And I like Jeffrey Simmons a lot. I like the pick by the Tennessee Titans, but I don't want that to cloud my own most likely first-round bust judgments. Look, there are injury concerns here with Simmons, plus some on-the-field stuff, which I think he's a different person now, but you have to factor that in. You have to do it. And Simmons coming off a torn ACL with the off-the-field red flags, that means there's risk involved here. Now, maybe he doesn't even play in year 1. If so, I think that's okay. I would have liked more sack production by Simmons. Now, I think that there's enough tackle for loss that it kind of balances out there. So, I don't know if Simmons starts or plays at all really in year 1. Maybe he does. Maybe they bring him back, put him on the PUP list, and then bring him back midway through the year. That'd be a good idea. But with the off-the-field red flags, the injury risk as well, which I do feel comfortable about, it is still the possibility that maybe Simmons isn't the same guy we saw early in his NFL career, or early at Mississippi State. I hope that's the case, but I like Simmons a lot, but there is still that bust potential here. Another defensive lineman here to round out our top 5, LJ Collier out at TCU. Now, first note here, this is not the first time we put a Seattle Seahawks player on this list. We did it last year, Rashad Penny. Early results, I feel vindicated. We did it as 2017, Malik McDowell. Now, injuries were a factor there, but I think that's fair enough and counts as a win there in the end. And then 2016 too, Jermaine Ifedi, who so far has not been that good in the NFL. The reality is Seattle, they do some weird stuff in the draft. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't, right, Amara Darboh? Exactly. So for Collier, again, I thought this one was a reach. Now, if you want some optimism here, I think Collier is a pretty good fit for what the Seattle Seahawks want to do on the defensive line. He fits that Michael Bennett type mold. And maybe I was different and unique. Or maybe just outright wrong too, I like Ben Danigou more than I like LJ Collier. It also brings in some doubts for me for Rasheem Green, because Collier and Green, I think, do some similar things. But if your expectations are that Collier steps in right away in year 1 and becomes as good player as Frank Clark, I don't think that's going to happen. Now, I like the interior depth for the Seattle Seahawks, and you can definitely get Collier inside on pass downs, which I definitely think Seattle should do, but I did not think Collier was the best edge on the board. I'm a little bit concerned here. I did not think he was worthy of a first-round pick. There's definitely power, and he can convert speed to power very well. But if you're asking him to be a 3-down defensive end, I worry just a little bit about the true athletic ability there. So I ask you guys, which player will be the biggest first-round bust? The reality is it might be someone not on this list. That is the nature of the NFL draft. That is how things work. There are busts all the time. Even surefire, safe prospects. Remember Aaron Curry? It happens. It's tough in the NFL, and there's a lot that goes into it. We want to believe that talent wins out. That's not often the case there in the NFL. So let's recap then my most likely first-round busts. And again, please send all hate mail and complaints to my burner account at MitchellRens365. Daniel Jones, which feels very obvious. I hated that pick by the Giants, and I just don't think he's going to be remotely what they think he's going to end up being in the NFL. Then Rashan Gary of the Packers, and we'll see how he plays at outside linebacker. A lot of boom busts there. Same too with Titus Howard of the Houston Texans. I think he needs time. I worry he's not going to get that opportunity in Houston, and I thought that pick was a reach anyway. Jeffrey Simmons out of Mississippi State with the Tennessee Titans. I like the player, but the off-the-field red flag could always rear its ugly head again later, and the injuries coming off of also make it at least a chance he busts, even though I do like the talent there. And then LJ Collier, maybe Seattle's due for a first-pick success because Rashad Penny, at least so far, Malik McDowell, and also Jermaine Ifedi haven't really panned out the way they want. Maybe Collier breaks that trend. Now, today's show brought to you guys by WagerTalk.com. Head over to WagerTalk.com/chatsports to get a free daily pick package. Yeah, they're giving away their expert picks for you, but only at WagerTalk.com/chatsports.